Heyo! Howdy, buckaroos, and welcome to the Haunted Chronicles. Tonight we have two special guests, director Marty Stalker and executive producer Rob Marro of the soon-to-be-released feature documentary about Father Malachi Martin, and it's called Hostage to the Devil. They will be joining us shortly. I am Mr. Haunted, joined by the baby-faced assassin, again, Brock Burrows.
What's
Brock,
up?
welcome back.
It's good to be back. How you been doing?
I'm all right, and thank you, Maggie, for filling in last week.
Yeah.
Was that a how I'm doing or how are you?
Well, we'll get to the how are you in a minute.
I heard some news. I'm not sure if it's correct. Will we be on Monday night football?
Yes.
Is it this next week?
No, it's this Monday.
So the upcoming Monday,
Yep.
you will be on. What station will it be on?
It's going to be on ESPN at 8 p.m. Ohio State comes to town to try to beat us after we beat them last year. Their only game they lost last year was to us in their home stadium. So they're coming down to try to give us revenge. But it's a crazy weekend. They're doing what they call it's a welcome back party on drill field tonight, which we had a storm that kind of came around and stuck around for a little while. Tomorrow night, Sunday night, Brad Paisley is going to be giving a free concert on campus, and then
That,
of course Monday night.
Is that Angela? What's her name? Angelina Jolie's husband?
No.
Brad
Paisley is a country artist. I forget who he's married to. No, Angelina Jolie. That's no, he's not married to her. He probably. Right, so. I'm not going to say anymore. But anyway.
No. But everyone watch ESPN on Monday night, and you may see Brock on the Virginia Tech sidelines.
Yeah, I'll be floating around there. I'm sure someone will end up breaking a headset. We already had one headset get broken during a scrimmage. So if one gets broken in a scrimmage, then holy crap, we're in for a lot of broken headsets this year. But yeah, it's been a crazy week leading up to this. There's a lot of hype in the game and just crazy stuff at work and just running around all the time. But it'll be good to kind of get Monday off and relax and then go down for the game. So, but Jimmy, how are you tonight?
How am I? Mm-hmm. I'm happier than a green-crested mountain warbler flying over a moonlit crystal stream.
What?
By Cracky?
Nice.
Thank you. And I just want to tell everyone I went out today.
What?
I don't go out that much. I'm like, what about Bob? I went to the post office, to the hardware store, to the to get gas for the lawnmower. I went out. So congratulations to me. And I just wanted to, before we start, I want to thank all these people that share our event page every week, and we get a lot of new listeners because of their shares. And like I said, I don't ask anybody to share the page, but all these people shared the page, and I really appreciate it. Holly, Joe, Marlene, Brenda, Sarah, Rick, Paul, Patty, Electric City Paranormal, Chad, Kevin, Valerie, Maggie, Mercedes, Corey, Mike, Maggie, Independent Paranormal Research Circle, Candy, Heidi, Frankie, Russell, Lisa, Debbie, Brian, Marty, Jojo, and Hostage to the Devil page, and we're going to be sharing the link throughout the chat in the chat room to the Hostage to the Devil movie page. And I know 100 and something of you already liked the page from my friends list. Thank you very much. If you want to click on Paul's sharing the link in the chat room so you can follow the progress of the film. And if you're not in the chat room, you can go to Hostage to the Devil on Facebook and find it there. And we'll ask our guests later if there's another way to follow them and stuff. So I want to get through these scary movie celebrity birthdays, Brock, because we got one of our guests is it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning there, and I don't want him to fall asleep.
Yeah, and the lights are flickering here. I guess that storm's coming back.
What? That'll be fun. I'm laughing at the chat. Sorry. Rose McGowan, who is in Scream, Devil in the Flesh, Grindhouse, Death Proof, Machete, and Dead Awake. How old will Rose McGowan be?
40?
42.
Ugh.
Close.
Wow.
Michael Keaton, who was in Batman, White Noise, Beetlejuice, and I think the soon-to-be released, or at least they announced it, Beetlejuice 2.
There's a Beetlejuice 2?
That's what I heard, but you know how that is.
Wow. 58.
64.
Wow.
And David Arquette. We got 2 more, so you can redeem yourself. David Arquette, who was in all the Scream movies, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 8-Legged Freaks, or is it 8-Legged Freaks?
I think it's 8-legged.
I was dreading that word all week long. You think it's legged?
Yeah, I think it's legged.
All right, 8-Legged Freaks. How old will David Arquette be?
42.
Oh, 44.
Ah.
And it was another week that it was hard to find scary movie people. So I squeezed in Adam Sandler because he was in Little Nicky. And Coneheads, Bedtime Stories, and Hotel Transylvania.
Oh, God. He is...
Waterboy B.
Waterboy. That was a scary movie, too. 47.
49? 49, correct!
Wow.
There you go, fellas.
I was totally off tonight. Oh, well.
Well, you know what? Maybe you're saving your luck for Monday night. So that's good.
Nah. Yeah, I have a good feeling about Monday night.
And for the non-believers on Facebook, I did find a 4-leaf clover last week, and like a patch of that was about a foot by a foot, a little tiny patch. I found a 4-leaf clover.
Nice.
Amazing. All right, before we bring on our guests, the first time we had Marty and Rob on was January 23rd, and I was just a twinkle in their eye back then, Brock. And since then, well, a lot of stuff happened, so we have a lot to talk about. And let's bring them on. Tonight's guests are executive producer of Hostage to the Devil and a good friend of Malachi Martin, Rob Marro, and the director of Hostage to the Devil, Marty Stalker, who went from being a section commander in the military to the film industry, who has directed films, Drowned at Birth, is it To Lose Control, and Desecration, which I watched on YouTube, Marty, the trailer, and I want to see that. To name a few, and is now working on the Hostage to the Devil movie. Marty, nice. Rob?
Welcome.
Hello. Hey, Mr. Haunted, how are you?
Hey, Rob. Hey, Marty.
Hello.
And Marty, before we get started, I want to tell you the first time we communicated was on Skype. Yep. And I didn't know that you called me by video. Guys, I was in my basement. I had black hair dye all over my hair and face, but no shirt on. And all of a sudden, I saw his face, and
yeah, well, it was different. Yeah, it was different.
So that was a nice way to meet. And thank you for not
like
immediately hanging.
Like we say, some things cannot be unseen. So
no, and he didn't even mention it. He's a gentleman. And Rob, I didn't realize he never saw what I looked like. So the first time we met was at John Zaffis' house, and I saw him in the driveway. And I went running up to him, saying, Rob, like hugging him around his waist while he's getting stuff out of the truck. And thank you for not shooting me, because he didn't know who I was.
Exactly. I was like, who the hell is this guy?
So thank you both for still talking to me after that.
Oh, yeah. I'm more than happy.
My first question. Last time I kind of rushed because I was so excited to have you guys on, and we skipped over some stuff that I wanted to talk about. Marty, you worked on like drama, comedy, horror films. How did you become involved with this film?
Yeah, so very early on, I wouldn't even say career. I mean, this is my debut feature length film, so this is quite important for me to get right. Well, previously I was making short films, the odd TV commercial, but really the short films were self-funded projects. Because the way I looked at it was better to sort of make mistakes with your own money than somebody else's money. That was the mindset. So I self-funded a few projects, and sort of wanted to sort of get involved with all genres and drama. Each genre gave me, unique challenges. Comedy, horror, drama, even factual stuff. It's all different challenges that you are faced with. So I wanted to sort of experiment, and I didn't want to sort of be known as a genre-specific filmmaker at such an early stage in my career. So I just started to sort of experiment and sort of see where I really had that real passion and expertise in. So I was approached by the producers of Causeway Pictures, who had seen some of my self-funded horror shorts, little indie stuff, I put online, and they found me through there. And to be fair, Ireland's a very, very small place, and everybody does know each other in some shape or form. So they found me and they approached me, and it was actually, I think the story from their point of view was a priest. I think the priest was in a bar or something, and the two producers from Causeway Pictures were in there, and the priest turned around to the guys and said, "What do you guys do for a living?" And they're like, well, we're film producers. And he was like, "Well, you definitely got to make a film about this Malachi Martin." And they're like, "Who?" Because don't get me wrong, outside America, particularly the East Coast, not many people know about Father Martin. So, and I he was from Kerry of all places. So, outside of America, really, nobody really knows much about him. So, which I still find fascinating. So they were actually, it was the priest who planted the seed with the film producers, and then obviously Chris and Paddy approached me. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm very, very interested. And it took a while to, filmmaking's a business, so we knew that we couldn't do this ourselves. So we did need that money to get to America, get the interviews done, get some really good, nice looking reconstruction shot. And that unfortunately, that does, there are only certain things that you can do with your own money and by putting favors in, but this needed that little bit more of a sort of a professional touch. So we actually got the funding after a few years of beg, borrowing, and stealing, and we got Irish Film Board came on board eventually, and it was a very important moment for us because we were at a crossroads, because we'd been to Cannes, we'd been to Berlin with the concept, and Malachi is the character. And everyone was sort of like, yeah, we'll definitely buy it off you when you make it, but we're not going to make it. We're not going to help you make it. So it was a really frustrating time, and we were at a crossroads where should we just self-fund this or not, and just get it done, because we've spent at that stage nearly 2 years doing development for the film, and then the Irish Film Board came on board and said, right, come into the office, we need to chat, and then they came on board and gave us the funding necessary to get to America and get the interviews and get some beautiful reconstruction shot on Ireland. So that's where we were. That's a very brief backstory of the project. But that's how I got involved.
Wow, that's great that they pulled through like that.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it's. There are a lot of projects that don't get off the ground. There's a lot of even some great film projects that just don't get off the ground. And unfortunately for us, someone came in and saw the vision for the film and liked it and supported it. So we're very, very lucky, and I do, I'm blessed in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And Rob,
Yes,
for people
sir.
that how you doing? For people that didn't listen the first time, I mean, I know it's so hard to tell everything that Father Martin was. But could you tell just a little about his history?
Oh, geez. Watch the movie. How about that?
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
No spoilers.
Rob, how did you get involved in the film, and could you tell us about your relationship with the subject of the film?
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to. Well, first off, I met Father Martin, let's see, going back 1990. And it was as a result of a priest I knew at church. And that's how it all started out. And it just kind of went on from there. It was actually thanks to, and here I've got to plead ignorance and ask Marty a question. Is Sinead O'Connor Irish?
Ooh. I hope so.
No, I'm asking in all honesty, bud.
Yeah, she's Irish, yeah.
Well, remember the infamous time on Saturday, the TV show Saturday Night Live, when she ripped up a picture of the Pope and said, "We have to fight the true enemy"?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, a priest in my parish gave a sermon right after that the day after. And when I went to thank him for basically sticking up for Pope John Paul II, that priest, whose name was Father John, we became friends, and after a while he said, the subject turned to Malachi Martin and one of his books. And I said, I've really admired him for a long time. He says, well, do you want to meet him? I know him. He's a good friend of mine. And we had dinner, and as Bugs Bunny would say, that was the start of a beautiful friendship.
Wow. I did not think Bugs Bunny would make it to the show tonight.
Oh, yes, he makes it. To quote Jerry Seinfeld, that's where my knowledge of popular culture comes.
So after you met him, how did your relationship evolve? What happened from there? Can you tell us anything about that?
Oh, sure. That's easy. Him being Irish and being a great storyteller, me being Italian and loving good food, I had told him that I sent him a thank you note because he paid for dinner that night, myself and a bunch of seminarians, and then we just went out to dinner. I sent him a thank you note, and I said the best way I know to say thank you and repay you for your hospitality is just to invite you out to dinner. And a week later, there was a message on my answering machine phone, and we went out to dinner in Little Italy over in Manhattan, and things kind of just took off from there.
Wow. And is the film for the listeners? Is the film? Could you tell us if the film's focusing on a certain period of his life or his entire life?
Yeah. So, you look at, a 90-odd minute film doesn't do the Father Martin story justice. To be honest, it needs to be a collection of 90-minute films, to be honest, to do it justice. But we had to sort of I had to, when I was doing the development for the story and writing the rough script paper edit for the story, it was I had to really keep focused on one certain aspect of his time in America, and we chose the exorcism ministry. We do go into a bit of his writing, and when he particularly when he wrote Hostage to the Devil. We do go into that a little bit, but we had to really focus on the exorcism ministry purely just to keep the film the narrative as narrow as possible, and as because, like I said before, you could make numerous 90-minute films about the man. So when people watch this film, it is about Malachi Martin. It does question the big question. Does this man tell the truth? You as an audience can decide. You might not be able to decide after the 90-odd minutes, but that is the question, and the big core question in the film is does this guy tell the truth? Who do you believe, in a sense? So that's one of the core questions. And to be fair, exorcism is a bit of a supporting act in the film. We've got some incredible eyewitnesses and incredible personal stories about exorcism, but really the core elements and the narrative arc and the core question of the film is the man himself. Nobody wants to watch a film where it's all Malachi was great, Malachi was awesome, Malachi was superb.
Exactly.
That's not entertainment. That's just it's potentially classed as propaganda. What I'm doing is introducing a man that is still wrapped in mystery to this day, and had some controversial views, but fascinating viewpoints, which now we look at the world now, it's fascinating because it's all starting to come to light. Some of the stuff he was talking about in the 90s on the radio we're now seeing it in the news, and we are now seeing it with our own eyes, like the refugees. And that. I don't really want to go into that much about that. I don't want to spoil the film either. But really, like, just to go back on myself, is so really it's about his exorcism ministry, but really it's about him the man, basically.
Yeah, and he predicted about 40 years ago everything that's happening right now.
Yes.
If anybody wants to research that, they could do that afterwards. But it's amazing some of the things that he predicted that's going to happen and did. Do you have an estimate so people have an idea of how prolific he was, if that's the word? How many exorcisms he was involved with or performed?
Well, through my own research, he would he never seemed to have an ego, and he always dumbed it down. He would always dumb it down, and he'd always say, I was only the assistant." But even his close friends knew he was never the assistant in an exorcism. This man was an exorcist, but he would always play it down and dumb it down, and I found that fascinating. He had no ego. He was extremely eccentric and very topical and extremely intelligent, maybe too intelligent in some areas of his life. But there's no specific number, and I'm sure he didn't really keep a tally, because at the end of the day, in all these cases, and it's in the film, we actually explore this theme of is this person possessed or are they not? And at the end of the day, these people are suffering from something, and it's not nice, and and it is real. And I'm sure Father Martin didn't keep a tally, because it's not nice. What he was doing wasn't nice, and he would always talk about exorcism being filthy, insalubrious, and vicious, and it leaves a claw mark on you as an exorcist, and something that little bit of essence is taken away each time, and it was a battle. It was a spiritual battle, but he would always play it down with the media and dumb it down, and I found that fascinating about the man as well. He was he wasn't doing this every day of his life in America, but there was a need there at the time, and we do look at in the film. We do look at how the church was seen at all, particularly after the Exorcist film was released in the '73, etc. We actually look at how the church responded, and we introduced the fact that some priest and bishop didn't believe in the devil and was turning these people away, and Malachi had to set up an underground group of exorcists in America because the church wasn't answering these needs, and he was there and he was answering the needs. So we explore a little bit about that in the film as well. And again, like I said before, 90 minutes does not do it justice, but we've had some great sort of feedback with test audiences as well on the rough cut of the film a few weeks ago. So it's definitely communicating well to a general audience, which is great.
That was my next question. When he came to New York, how did he start getting involved with the exorcisms? Like, did he hear about them from local churches, or how did he get?
Yeah, so people who know Father Martin's story, they know in 1952 his first experience was in Cairo of an Arab boy. He was summoned to the exorcism of an Arab boy during his archaeology digs in Cairo and in the surrounding areas. So that was his first ever experience, and he would never really talk much about it to his friends or in his workshops, etc. He'd always sort of introduced the idea that this was his first experience. And then that was 1952, and then it wasn't until he actually got to America and started to write and slowly make a name for himself, where he was summoned to the Bronx. It was called like 2-3 in the morning apparently, and he was summoned to the Bronx because the exorcist assistant had collapsed, and they knew Father Martin was in the area, and summoned Malachi Martin to this exorcism in the Bronx. I believe it was a boy as well, and that sort of sparked this fascination and interest in Old Scratch and the existence of demons from his experience in Cairo. So that's on the Bernard Jansen tapes. He does go through his first experience in America of exorcism was in the Bronx.
And we have a minute left before break. I just want to, aside from the Facebook page, how can they follow the film so the listeners could know what's going on, when it's going to be released, and any information?
Yes.
Is there another?
Yeah, we've got Facebook and Twitter. I mean, the Twitter is at FR Malachi Martin. That's the Twitter username. You can find us on there, and then obviously the Facebook page. I mean, I want to say thanks for everyone who's joined the Facebook page. It's been quite slow recently because obviously the film's in the edit. It's just finished the offline edit process, so we can't really release any news of the film itself yet. But thanks for everybody's patience anyway, who have liked the page already. But bear with us. Over the next few months there will be news about where they can see it and the progress of the film, basically.
Okay, Brock?
Yes.
I think
it's break
time.
Yep, it's break time.
You're listening to The Haunted Chronicles. Our guests are Marty Stalker and Rob Marro, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Haunted Chronicles, and I want to give shout-outs to everyone in the chat room today. Thanks for coming, Brock, Chad, Dave, Jojo, KLF, Susan, Desi, Tiff, Maggie, Russell, Kara, Mike, Lisa, Laura, Paul, Ace, Kat, and Cheryl. Thank you for joining us today. Marty and Rob, I have a question. I want to ask you about, did anything odd happen since you got involved in the making of the film?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was because over the last sort of few years, sort of say 3.5 years, on the actual project, obviously I haven't been working full time on the project, but every time I would sort of start getting more involved, working on the project, things would start happening around the house and stuff. But I'm extremely skeptical of stuff like that. But actually on the shoot, we were having a lot of technical problems with camera kit and stuff, and cameras were just playing, as we say, silly buggers, and it was like this doesn't usually happen, and then generally, there were things that are happening, and you just got to try and dismiss it and try and just move on and just keep focused of what you're doing, and even in Rome, things were happening to us in Rome as well, and it. I mean, one of my favourite stories was Chris, the producer, and we ran at John Zaffis' house for the interview, and all I was thinking in the back of my head was, when the interview was finished, was I need to ask him about I want to ask to go into his museum. I definitely want to see that museum. So, and I asked him, and then Mr. John was like, yeah, guys, you can come into the museum. So, Ralph got all like protective of us, Ralph Sarchi, and he was like, right, lads, stick these medallions on your person, hide them, don't show them when you're in the museum, etc., etc. Giving us the rundown of how it's the protocol in the museum.
Yeah, they were holy medals.
Yeah. Sorry, the medals. Yeah, so we all had medals hidden on us, and Chris, the producer, had one in his top pocket, and we were about to go in, and we were all like, "Yeah, this is going to be great. Let's just keep the cameras rolling." And I looked over at Chris, and he was getting a little bit sweaty and a little bit white. And actually he was great, and he was like, come over, Marty. He looked at me and he was like, Marty, can you come over here for a second? And I was like, yeah, okay. And I came over to him, and he was like, feel my top pocket. And I was like, what? And he went, just feel my top pocket. And I felt his top pocket with the medal in, and it was absolutely red hot. It was burning. It was incredible. And it's one of those little moments where the nervous giggling starts, and it's like, and then we went into the museum, and we just did our jobs, and we sort of forgot about it in the end. But little things like that were happening to us, particularly with the camera kit. When you do talk talk to crews about, on other projects, particularly horror projects and particularly projects around, in history. You look at the Exorcist film and the Poltergeist films, and you look at all the trouble behind the scenes that the crew were facing with technical stuff going wrong and fires breaking out, etc. We didn't have fires, but we were having technical problems, but we had a job to do, and we just kept going and tried not to let it affect our jobs and our focus, really. But no, there was little things like that happening, which we sort of just nervously giggled it off and then cracked on again. But it was only over a beer afterwards. We were like, "Oh my word, I can't believe that happened." And
the other thing, Jimmy, is that the first time I experienced something like that in a more major way, because I remember Malachi always told me that there are no coincidences in the world of the spirit. And the first day that Marty and I ever met in person and he recorded me on film, it was about, what, Marty, about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes up in that office building in Manhattan?
Yeah, an hour and a half.
And then I drove home, and exactly 2 hours later I was sitting at a red light, and I was rammed from behind by a woman in a minivan who claims she never even saw my vehicle. She hit me doing about 50 miles an hour, and I don't know how you can not see a stopped Nissan Xterra in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
But she says she never saw a vehicle. And 1 minute I'm listening to CBS Sports. The next minute I have vague memories of being loaded into an ambulance, strapped down to one of those yellow rescue squad surfboards. And then I passed out, and then I woke up in the trauma ward of the hospital, and my wife is looking down at me with very, very big eyes, and I hear the trauma doctor saying, "You are very lucky to be alive."
Wow.
And it was only 2 hours after I had met Marty, and he had filmed me for the first part of this movie. So
I want to get to two things before I forget. Stay at the end of the show. We're gonna play an audio teaser about the movie. So when we say goodnight, stick around for 2 minutes because there's going to be a Haunted Chronicles exclusive audio. And Brock, I want to let you ask a question after I ask Marty and Rob. Could you tell us some of the people that are going to be in the film, so people know? Because a lot of people are fans of a couple of these guys, might want to see them.
Yeah, so we got Ralph Sarchi, who Father Martin was his mentor and his spiritual director, etc. So we got Ralph Sarchi on, talking about his time with Malachi and what he learned from Father Martin himself. Again, similar to that was John Zaffis. John talks about his relationship with Malachi as well, and when he first read Hostage of the Devil, etc. And it was the go-to book at the time for demonology and exorcism, and possession. We also have Lorraine Warren. We have a workshop of Malachi Martin that no one's ever seen before at the Warrens' house. We do have Lorraine Warren in the film. We have Lorene Gomez, who's a psychotherapist who had some experience in the 90s. Worked with yourself, Jimmy, I believe. Well, we have the evidence. As part of a team who did exorcisms before it started getting popular, and they were the sort of the trailblazers in a sense of I wouldn't say paranormal investigators, but they were the trailblazers in the exorcism ministry in America in the 90s. And we also have Matt Baglio. I interviewed Matt in Rome. He's the author of Argo, and he's also the author of The Rite, The Making of a Modern Exorcist. I believe it was made into a film a few years ago with Anthony Hopkins called The Rite. So he wrote The Rite, and obviously in research for his book, he did experience and witness a lot of exorcisms as part of his sort of development and research for the book. So we've got Matt. We also have an exorcist in Rome called Father Caesar Truqui, who used to assist with Father Gabriele Amorth in Rome. Bags of experience there. We also have a few other priests in the film as well, just to give us that sort of church anchor and liturgy sort of significance in the film as well. So I'm obviously we also Robert Marro, who was on the other end of this phone, is a main player in the film. Purely because, I mean, from day one, I've been fascinated by that relationship. Robert didn't mention that before, but Robert used to drive him to his exorcisms, as well as other priestly duties. And I sort of had like a true detective vision in my head of this dark Italian, guy, tall, dark Italian guy driving around this small-framed Irish former Jesuit priest, Catholic priest exorcist in this car. In this Jeep, driving around the east coast of America. And I just had this vision of like a true detective scene of these two characters in this car. And it's always fascinated me. So Robert from day one was going to play a main role in the film. And we actually bring Robert back to the house in Connecticut, which was the location of Father Martin's last exorcism, which was of a 4-year-old girl. Which, without revealing too much about the film, was the, it was the result of his death, was what he encountered in this room with this 4-year-old girl was the cause of his death. Robert believes that, and Malachi believed that as well. So that's the main event in the film, is we actually bring Robert back to the spot where this happened. And it's a very emotional scene, but it's also a very powerful scene. And it's true, it's real emotion, and it's powerful. And Robert from day one's been a contributor and a supporter of the film, and so we're excited because now it's just finished its offline stages. So we've got the picture lock of the film now, and now it's going into the really juicy, awesome stuff of getting the sound design and the score music put on, and getting the visual effects put in. Well, I wouldn't say visual effects, but getting all the special effects put in, and then so. Oh, by the way, I don't mean special effects. I'm not going to be, putting in, clouds of smoke and fireworks and stuff. It's literally, we've got some really cool reconstructions of Malachi's apartments where the TV comes to life and stuff like that, really. But I don't want to spoil it too much for the audience. But, so we've got the main contributors in the film. They're all real people with real experiences with Father Martin. And that was important for me. We also have, which was important for me to put into the film, because as I mentioned before about Malachi the man, there's no point making a film about Malachi's awesome, Malachi's great. It's not. It's okay. Yeah, believe what you want, but it's not going to keep people with the film throughout from start to finish. So we have to bring in that critical voice. Malachi was controversial in certain aspects of his life, and that's what made him fascinating. And we actually, I interviewed a Robert Kaiser, Bob Kaiser, who I'm sure if you do your research, was probably the ultimate nemesis of Father Martin. And I don't want to reveal too much to you now on the radio, but I interviewed Bob 2 months before he passed away himself, so it was important to get that interview before he passed away. And he's a very, very interesting character, and he provides that critical voice of against Malachi the man. And again, it goes back to this: does Father Martin tell the truth? You as an audience, you decide yourself. So Bob's in there as not. I wouldn't say he's thrown in for the sake of it, but he's also. Exactly. He's a fascinating character as well. He's a former Jesuit priest as well, and he was a journalist for Time magazine and also an author. And he wants to say something about Malachi, and I gave him the room to do that in the film, and that was important for me, to give him that space in the film to come on and voice his opinions of the man. And again, the audience, you decide amongst yourselves. I know what I believe about Father Martin. I know what I believe as a filmmaker, but I'm not going to force that down your necks. I'm trying to keep it as objective as possible. And again, the audience, you're going to come away with two big questions poised in the film. Is Malachi the man? Was he telling the truth, or was he just an absolute crackpot? Mythomaniac, sociopath, whatever you want to say about the man, or was this man telling the truth? Was he God's warrior, as Ralph Sarchi mentions in the film? He believed he was God's warrior, and that's one of the questions. And the other question in the film is this person that you're seeing on this video footage, is this person in this room, on this chair in this church, being exercised by a bishop? and an exorcist. Is this person suffering from something which is demonic, or is this person suffering from something which is, can be explained and treated with science, with modern medical science? Yeah, exactly. So I mean, as a filmmaker, if your film can spark discussion afterwards over a beer or over a coffee or whatever whatever, then that, for me, that's my job done.
You've done your job.
Spark discussion, spark debate, and Malachi Martin always sparked debate with everything he said. Sparked debate on the internet chat forums and
still.
And even on Twitter now, you go and search him on Twitter now, there's people still having debates over the man, and that's why he was a fascinating guy. And for me as a filmmaker, to have such a character in one's film was a blessing in disguise. He even now, I mean, I stopped very early on. I stopped trying to find proof and facts about the man, because we could prove certain facts, but there was others which we were just going down rabbit holes, and you know what, like I said before, you decide for yourself as an audience. You decide, So there we go.
One other thing, Jimmy. Yep. One thing I just wanted to say real quick was that after Malachi passed away, he said, knowing Malachi was kind of a blessing and a curse. And I said, why is that? He said, as regards what happens after you die, he said 99.9% of humanity can go blithely on their way, keeping an open mind about it. He said he took that away from you forever. He says, you can choose to deny it in your mind, but
Wow. Brock, I've been a hog.
No, you're good.
You must have one question.
I do have one question.
Good.
Do we know when Malachi Martin started or got interested in the exorcisms? What age and how long he has done it?
Well, I believed. I tried to get a date. I think the Bronx exorcism was 82. Okay. So he left Rome in 65. I think New York, Manhattan, he was around 67. Officially sort of started to live in Manhattan around 67. So he started writing his books. Hostage to the Devil came out 3 years after The Exorcist came out. And so really, I think I might be getting mixed up with the Bronx exorcism, but
Marty, I think the Bronx exorcism was closer to 1975.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That's fine then. So yeah, I mean, it's for me. It started around the Exorcist film came out, and obviously the next day the confessional boxes were full of people believing they were possessed. So the church, it was a fascinating time with the church because they were closing the doors, etc. And so Malachi came along, and he helped, and he was there to help when the church wasn't. So it's a very interesting time when Malachi started to do exorcisms.
Cool.
We have 3 minutes left. Is there anything you wanted to get out that we didn't get to?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify that the film is not about the 5 cases in his book. I've had a few questions on social media asked, sent to me, etc. I can just clarify now. The film is not about the 5 cases from his book, but we do look at the making of the book, particular sort of Bill Blatty, his reaction to the book when it first came out, and the confrontation behind the scenes there. It's very, very not a negative section of the film, but it's a fascinating story of Bill Blatty's reaction to. I'm sure everyone who's on this who's listening to this radio show know who Bill Blatty is, but the author of The Exorcist. There's a nice little story about that sort of rivalry behind the scenes as well, which is interesting. So no, just to clarify, the film is not about the 5 cases from his book.
Okay. I just want to remind everyone that next week, Bill Hall, the author, will be joining us. Yay. And I think we're almost at the time.
That's flown by now.
Go for it.
I want to say very quickly, if anybody has anything to say about videotaped exorcisms, I know a lot of people frown upon that, but our group, the the bishop allowed us to videotape all the exorcisms, and we did it for documentation and for liability, because you don't know what's going to happen during these things, and it's important to have a record of what happened, just in case.
Yeah, and any clips that I've used in this film, all identities of the team, and obviously the exorcist and the subject and the person being exorcised, is all identities have been removed as well from a professional and also from a human point of view. I wanted to remove the identities of all people in that room.
Awesome.
Wow, we got 2 minutes. I don't know what kind of question I have that I can get rid of in 2 minutes. But, I want to tell you guys, all the guys in your crew were so nice, and everybody got along so well, I couldn't believe it. Like, it was just a bunch of cool people.
Yeah, but I think cause this has been a passion project for all of us. This is not my film. This is our film. The people who are involved. It's a collaboration, and it's a team effort. Filmmaking is a team effort. It's a collaboration, and you do become a family. Particularly, this has been a passion project 3+ years now on the film. So it has everyone who's been involved have been extremely supportive of what I was doing as well. So no, it all came together and all worked, and I'm looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to sitting in a dark cinema, watching it with strangers. I can't wait to do that.
Yeah,
we got forward to it too. And Brock, go ahead, set up the clip.
Yeah, we got the clip ready for you guys. So after this plays, the show's going to be over. But listen to it and make sure when it comes out, keep checking the Facebook page. Go see it. Dave, go ahead.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty and Rob.
Yep, thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
The truth is, whether we like it or not, the devil does exist. He can influence, and he does influence.
Exorcism then is a healing, and it's a very horrid healing, but it does heal. Because inside they're living hell. It's a living hell.
Anybody who exposes the devil is in danger. The Word of God is the truth. The devil does not want people hearing the Word of God.
Satan is having his last stand. This is his Waterloo, but he's going to destroy as much as he can before he finally is shoved down into the abyss again, chained by Michael.
We did not talk an awful lot about his exorcisms, except the last one. I kept asking him not to do it, and he kept saying, well, I'm only going to be an assistant. Not much chance of that.
I still believe that Malachi was the target, and not that little girl. She was the bait.
We're talking about a 4-year-old child. She was innocence personified. There was no reason why this kid should have been afflicted in this way. And he was called by Christ to do these things.
He was a great mythomaniac. He was just a liar and a scoundrel and a cheat.
He's a warrior. He was a warrior for God, and he still is a warrior for God.
These are very, very sophisticated spirits who are there to harm us. And they're real.